I wouldn't describe myself as a super active person. I'm not a couch potato, but I don't know. But I was thinking about I think I have a little bit more of like a calculated approach to action, and I think maybe that would fit for today. So I'm going to talk about kind of being mindful about action. It's kind of my Zen title. I was thinking about what makes the best Creative Mornings talks. Sorry, I'm not gonna use that microphone. I'll just talk loud. Got too many pieces. That's okay. So I was thinking about what makes the best Creative Mornings talks. And I think it's a combination of something that is that's personal, and then some pretty things, and then something that is useful or inspirational or something like that. So that's kind of what I'm going to talk about today. So sandwiches. I've been thinking a lot about habits and just sort of like eating healthy is a hard habit to change, and maybe I like junk food a lot, anyway, I like sandwiches, and I've been thinking a lot about habits and over the last couple of months, and we're going to talk about habits a little bit later today. I listen to a lot of EDM and hip hop, and so that's where my nickname T-Money comes from. If you're not familiar. So T-Money is kind of my alter ego, and then this would be my dance album cover if I made one. I just got to get someone to animate the little equalizer things for me. I like sci-fi movies that don't take themselves too seriously. I like Amtrak, even though I think there's some room for improvement. But I like Amtrak. I also get really excited about electric cars, especially electric cars that look like spaceships, like this one. But I think obviously like industrial design is interesting to me too. So it's cool to be like in West Michigan with all the awesome furniture around too. But actually my mom was an industrial designer, and she a freelance industrial designer for about 20 years, and she worked in the toy industry, and she specialized in doing like portrait doll heads. So here's one that she did of Natalie Portman for Star Wars. But Legos were a really influential toy for me as a kid. And of course, when I play with Legos, it's like I make spaceships and cars. So again, with the spaceships, but I think when I think back about it now, I love Lego as a brand, and I think what's interesting about it is thinking about how they design multiple products that work together, and kind of these systems of creativity that they work with. And of course, drawing was important as a kid too. But I think about how those things kind of that experience kind of feeds into how fonts are made, and fonts being a collection of a bunch of little drawings that are kind of built and constructed together, and about how some fonts work with other fonts, and that kind of system. So I think that's really interesting. So that's kind of my first piece is about reflection, and I think that can be really helpful, and just about thinking what you have done before, and it can help you figure out like what your voice is. I think that's kind of a big always a concern for designers. What's my voice? And you just have to look around, I think. Reflection. Yeah, there's. I was able to find both of my images with Louis, and so I'm not exactly sure why I'm doing the exact same pose in both. I think that was intentional. I can't remember. So yeah, I studied graphic design at Grand Valley, and I fell in love with typography there, and I experimented with type design, and I made some really ugly stuff like this. And but I was in love with the process. But I wanted to show you this stuff today because I would have been embarrassed to show this a couple years ago, just because I was so eager to sweep that under the rug. But I think thinking about reflection, I think it's important to just kind of look back. So here's some lumpy S's. Take note. I'll come back to that. So it was, so when I was experimenting with type design and stuff, and in college, I knew I wanted to focus on typography. And so I bought the URL typeterrance.com because no one can pronounce or spell my last name. So that was obviously not in the branding options. Type Terrance. And yada, yada, yada. I work for a type foundry called Monotype. I'm kind of giving you the abbreviated story. So I've worked for Monotype for a number of years, and working with a really great group of other type designers that are kind of spread out over the country or over the world. There's some in California and New York, and we focus on custom typefaces and stuff like Julia mentioned. And a big part of the work that we do, or we're well known for doing big high-tech projects. So user interface typefaces like Seago or Droid Sans, which later got expanded into Open Sans. And so when I started working with this group of people in 2008, Droid Sans, which was one of the original user interface fonts for Android, was one of the first projects that I worked on. So it was really trial by fire, and so I cut my teeth on these high-tech projects like that. But one of the other things that I do and what we do is expand the library of typefaces that we have. And I spent 3 years actually designing Joanna Sans on and off in between commission works. And if you're savvy on your type history, there's a British type designer, Eric Gill, from the 30s, and he designed a really elegant slab serif called Joanna, which was designed for book text. So Joanna Sans is my interpretation of a sans serif companion for that. And so after about a year and a half of this project, and I think maybe what took so long was just kind of part of the learning curve too. I think I was still improving at the time. I always think back and if I were to start a project over again today, it would be so much easier and faster, and I think that's always the case. But about oh yeah, see, so there's I can draw an S now that's smooth. So I put all of them on there. It's the small cap S is in the middle there. So that's why there's medium size. So yeah, so I was kind of almost done, and then it was picked up for the Barnes & Noble Nook, which is an e-ink reader device that competes with the Kindle. And they needed Greek and Cyrillic, so that expanded the project quite a bit. That's Greek on the left. So that extended the project a long time, but also offered new challenges. And so that's Cyrillic, which is the script for Russian and stuff on the left, and then Greek on the right. And here it is in the device. So that was a big win for me and a big confidence booster for sure. So speaking of reflection too, I think 2008. So that was one of my typefaces I designed in college, and so I used to get really down on myself and compare myself to other type designers that maybe had 20 years more experience than I did. Gotta put this back together. But yeah, it's okay. I got it. So yeah, I used to you know, just be just, I don't know. So I decided to you know, look back at some of the work I had done in 2008, kind of like a 5-year review, and that's what I saw, and it was a really good experience for me. So I think if you're feeling stuck, or if you feel like you aren't growing, you know, take a look back at what you've done a couple years ago and compare yourself to yourself. I think is a really good you know, action you can take, or in other words, growth is the action. And I think it was from one of the other Creative Mornings talks that I really I kind of came to this conclusion that, you know, growth is more important than winning or losing, or there is no winner or loser, only growth. So everybody wants to hear about the Domino's fonts. I get asked about all the time. Yeah, it's already in my greatest hits album. So, and no, I don't get free pizza for life. So the short story is that the ad agency Crispin, Porter, and Bogusky was working with Domino's out of the Colorado office, and they commissioned Monotype to design the fonts for them. And it just kind of happened to be you know, a dream scenario where I was the only designer assigned to it. So that's kind of how I can kind of claim it as my own instead of big group projects. And they let us talk about it, so that's cool. So the special thing about it is it's what we call chromatic, which means you can layer the fonts on top of each other in different colors. Pretty popular trend right now. And I think conceptually it works too, because you can have, you know, different combinations of pizza toppings, right? It's good. It's good. Or sandwiches. But I think you know, the ad agency really did all the hard work with you know, the copywriting, and just the whole campaign is pretty good. And if I'm not wrong, I think the sales of Domino's have gone up since then, which is good. So some of my I've ordered a lot of Domino's pizza. Trust me, too much. So I think. Yeah, so here's some of the like historic references I was looking at. Some like American Gothic typefaces from around 1900, and even sort of like engraving styles, and looking at kind of how those problems were solved 100 years ago. So you know, type history is obviously a big part of my work. But I think the best part about being a designer, I think, is seeing your work like in the wild. I think that's the most rewarding part, and fonts are you know, a tool for creative people to use. You know, so it's good to finally see your tool being used in the wild. And of course, they, you know, one of the reasons for custom fonts is that you can own the fonts, and then you can, you know, use it anywhere and everywhere you want to, without kind of extra cost. And so they put it in their iPad app and all kinds of places. Sweet. Okay, so Kairos is my latest typeface, and it was released last week, actually, last Tuesday, and it's an octagonal slab serif. And it's based on, it's kind of inspired by 19th century wood type, which they used to call them Grecians. So that's why Kairos is a Greek word for opportunity. So that's kind of my wink at the historic reference. And this took about 18 months off and on to finish. And there's 51 weights, which is a lot, probably too many. It was designed in Grand Rapids, of course, entirely, and then a little bit of engineering help from the other offices in New York and Germany. But it also has some display weights, which are chromatic too, so you can do that kind of two-color effect with the display weights. Yeah, some in-house designers at Monotype designed these specimens like on real materials. So they did like laser etched into wood, which is really awesome, and acid etched into copper, and even screen printed on rubber. So I left my glass of water over here. Okay, so yeah, I was thinking about another like frequently asked question is like, where do typefaces come from? How do you start a typeface? And I think there's a lot of different starting points, either formal or conceptual places to start from. Obviously, history and printing is a big deal. Lettering and calligraphy, or technology restrictions. So if you think about a phone book, right, and a typeface like Bell Centennial, that's designed to be printed on newsprint for 6-point, is a particular set of restrictions and a design scenario, or like an LED, sign on a highway or something. So there's a lot of different starting places. So I think. If you're stuck too, I think exploring different starting points can be helpful or even just refreshing. I'd love to see like what a website looks like if you just only used paper or something. Like what kind of how can you change your process is, I guess, my point. And process is action. Around 2009 or 2010 maybe, I started doing lettering kind of as a hobby, and I think it might have been just a reaction to doing client work and just working on fonts on a computer all day, and I needed something else, something different. But I also wanted to improve my drawing skills and stuff, so I needed to do this. And I started with just some usual quotes and stuff. And just having fun with it. And then I was doing, has anybody seen American Gladiators? It was like this TV show in the 90s, and they like shot tennis balls at each other and stuff. Yeah, so, which are also like really good pet names, by the way. If you're looking for like a cat name or something, there's a bigger list on Wikipedia. There's like Tank and stuff. That's cool. It'd be a good cat name. So yeah, I think play is really important to me, and just having fun with those kind of things. And I find that I do better work when I'm in kind of a play state of mind instead of forcing myself to be serious. And workshops have been really helpful to me too. And in particular, I took a brush lettering workshop last summer, I think, and it really like changed my world a lot. And it's just like the introduction of tools that I didn't know these like special markers existed and stuff. And so that was a really big boon to my work. And I think I did some volunteer work as this Green Gala event, which is for like the Friends of Grand Rapids Parks. They do like a fundraising thing, and so I did some volunteer work to kind of do a new word mark for them and stuff. So I think volunteering for a nonprofit can be a way of using or developing your skills in something that you want to do, and kind of get that real world project instead of American Gladiator names. Or your dog. This is my dog Wilbur. I had to put him on there. But I think what I'm getting at is like combine your passions, and that can really help help your side projects a lot. Or a linoleum cut. So yeah, I love Instagram, and I was kind of late to the party, but I love using Instagram as kind of like a digital sketchbook, and posting things that I'm drawing, or signs, and all kinds of type related stuff, or sometimes sandwiches. Yeah. So variety and play are very important to my professional practice. All right, let's get back to action. So I think when I was thinking a lot about habits and sort of like the discipline for working at home, and obviously my schedule is a big part of it, and sticking to, I don't like staying up all night or working on the weekends or anything, so I work during normal business hours like everyone else does, and I don't wear my pajamas, and I take a shower and eat breakfast, and I go to work. It's just my commute's a lot shorter. But I think, yeah, so it's important to me to kind of keep these habits, and having a schedule is kind of the most important habit for my productivity. But I think if you want to start a new habit, it's easy to find time in between the cracks. So you might have, take 10 minutes during your lunch break to work on a skill or something else that you want to do, or read a book or whatever. But I think recharging your batteries is really important. Also why I don't like staying up all night or working all weekend or whatever is that I'll just be burnt out by Monday morning and not productive during the time I'm supposed to be productive. So it's important to relax. Yeah, it's really, I found this on just like great information online about other famous artists or writers, and kind of what their schedule and their routines and stuff are like. And there's kind of a bigger variety, but that's also cool to look into. Like how do other people solve like other productivity hacks from 200 years ago instead of just turning off your Wi-Fi, whatever. So I think planning is a really important action too. And I don't know about you guys. How many people use a daily planner? Daily planner? A couple. I love daily planners. I can't tell you how much. I can't even get the stock daily planners from Target anymore or whatever. I have to get like special ones from Kickstarter, and it's very particular. It takes a long time. But I love daily planners, and they help me a lot. So a couple other things that work for me, and like I was talking about, managing and designing habits, which is pretty hard, I understand. Quitting a bad habit is a lot harder than starting a new habit. So I think. Anyway, but the idea with habits is that anything that is automatic is very powerful. So if you think about your habit of brushing your teeth every day and stuff, and so over a long period of time, that makes a dramatic impact. And so you can do the same thing with other habits, with anything you want to do, really. And I think the other secret too is doing one habit at a time, or changing one habit at a time. And I think that's where New Year's resolutions just crash and burn, because people are trying to change 5 habits at the same time, and you only have so much willpower during the day, and usually our work life will suck the willpower out of you, and then at the end of the day you're just like, just give me ice cream and Netflix, and I don't want to hear anything else. So keep track of your willpower is a finite resource, and it's just those actions and those habits, they add up over time, and it's just about practice and about putting in the time. If you wanted to learn to play the violin or something, you could. It might take a long time, but you could do it, in the practice. And so. Yeah, goals are really important too, obviously, and writing down your goals can help. I'm a big fan of micro goals, which is kind of like the one push-up rule, for example, or like if you wanted to start a running habit in the morning, your micro goal might be to like just lace your shoes up and like step out onto your porch, and maybe that's your goal. And that's okay, and that's goal number 1. And then goal number 2 is maybe run around the block, right? And goal number 3 is run a mile. So I think setting up sort of the micro goals can help kind of get the ball rolling. And it's usually the first step is the hardest point. This is the hardest part. Getting out of bed and putting your shoes on is the hardest part. and it gets easier after that. And prioritize and maybe reevaluate every couple of months or something. I never finish all my goals. There's always some that just don't make the cut, or they just kind of filter themselves to the bottom. And I think that's okay. You don't have to, you don't have to feel bad about ditching a goal. But accomplishing the small or micro goals can make you feel better. Oh, it also reminds me of, like, instead of, like, when you have a to-do list, also keep like a done list. So like if your to-do list has a bunch of serious things on it, but then you actually do something fun, just like I write down things that I did that are not on my to-do list. So if I went for a walk in a park or something, I'll write that down, because that's, that's something that I did that was as equally as important as doing laundry or whatever. So I need to, remind yourself of the good things. It's kind of a gratitude thing, I guess. Another Zen moment. And action for me is just that idea of combining the habits and the pivots, or changing priorities. And so I think it would look something like this. So in other words, Henry Ford that shit. Which means if you take whatever big scary goal you have and then break it into 1,000 pieces that are doable. And that's all I have for you today.